Hello, everyone. My name is Lori Harris, and I'm your host for She Has Something to Say. I'm excited. This is our first episode, and I couldn't be more delighted. I have my business partner and global thought leader, Lynn Whitesell, with me today. Hey, Lynn.
Hi.
It's so great to have you as our first guest, and I couldn't be more thrilled because she is my business partner, but I really admire this lady in so many ways. And we're going to talk about her today and let her tell her story. So Lynn, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a developer of people and a developer of organizations. And those are skills that I've honed over the last however many years, working in large global companies and as a HR executive and an organizational effectiveness and talent management executive. And about a little over a year ago, I formed with you my own company. And so we co-founded that, and it has been such a wonderful and exciting adventure, and has used all of the experiences that I've had both as a P&L leader and as an HR executive and a global executive. And I certainly have learned lots of new skills and being an external consultant now rather than an internal consultant.
Well, that's great. So dig in a little bit further, and I want you to share with our audience the things that you love to do in your life and a little bit about maybe even where you're from.
Okay. Well, I am from coastal North Carolina. You would never guess I'm Southern because I don't sound it at all, right? I have found, though, that my Southern accent has never gotten in the way in audiences that I have addressed and leaders and teams I've worked with across the globe. So that's a good thing. So I am an enjoyer of people. I love being around people. I'm very people-oriented. I love developing people. So one of my favorite things is if with a leader or even a team that I've been working with, I get feedback from them post-engagement about how I made an impact. So that's very meaningful to me is making an impact and being a part of somebody's career, being part of somebody's happy home life, because coaching gets into that as well, and somebody's progression and other things that I like to do. I volunteer locally with the University of North Carolina at Wilmington in many capacities. I've been on the board for executive education for a number of years now, and now have just recently Harris Whitesell Consulting. We have joined forces with the university and the Swain Center for Executive Ed to offer a Leadership and Excellence series. So we're very excited about that. I also am an executive mentor, and I mentor through the Cameron Executive Network, and I just fall in love with the students. And part of that that I really, really enjoy is staying in touch with them after the coaching engagement, or in this case, mentoring engagement is over. So after they graduate, and being a part of their lives is very, very enjoyable to me. I also I'm the upcoming chair for the Alumni Association at the University of North Carolina at Wilmington. Been part of the Alumni Association Board of Directors for 4 years now, I believe. So I'm excited to chair that. Also very much enjoy mentoring women, and I'm part of the local Women's Leadership Institute through Wilma, and enjoy speaking and also mentoring women leaders through that. So I'd say a good part of what I enjoy doing is developing people and staying engaged with them and being a part of their stories.
So right now, what is it that's inspiring you? What is it that's motivating you?
I'm inspired to learn every single day. Every single day I get up and I want to be the best that I can be. And starting a new pathway to my personal career and being an external coach, which I don't feel new to that because I've been a coach for forever. But the learning that comes around being a business owner. And so that inspires me. It inspires me to learn something every day, and I do learn something every day.
And what are those characteristics that have made you successful? This is hard because I know you, so I'm asking you questions I already can answer for myself. So what are the key characteristics that have made you successful?
I think a genuine desire to do what you do. You really, if you wake up in the morning, it's an old saying, but if you wake up in the morning and you're excited to do what you do, then what you do is not a job. It's fun. And so I think when you have that, or actually I know when you have that energy and that enthusiasm around what you do, it translates to others. And it's inspiring to you and it's inspiring to them. So I genuinely do what I love to do. It's very, very fortunate. My career path didn't start in developing people. My career path started in the sciences. But going back a little further, my mom always told me that I should be in a people-oriented career. And I always said, no, Mom, I want to be in the science field. I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied science and I worked in scientific labs in the pharmaceutical industry, and I managed a biotech lab. But what I found myself always gravitating toward was not the science, it was developing the people that were under my leadership, or developing people of the company, and putting up my hand to say, I'd like to develop people, and then making that career transition so many years ago that I made to go into a career-oriented field. So I get a lot of questions around, how did you go from being a scientist to being an HR executive? And the short answer is, follow your heart, follow your inspiration, follow your motivation, be brave, and just do it. And educate yourself along the line so that you can be an expert in that.
Well, I have to say, Lynn, it's all science, because the science of humanity is what we do, and you do it to the best extreme there is. And I know that there's lots of rewards for those individuals, thousands, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, of the lives that Lynn has touched. So this is a journey, and you have journeyed through life. And again, you started out in your career as a biochemist, and you transitioned truly through dedication and commitment to education and that change and transition that you had. So in that process, what was one of the most defining moments for you that really triggered that change and kept you motivated and kept you successful?
I remember way back when I was still working as a scientist and supervising a biotech lab, and I was asked to speak at a company town hall. And I remember, people were saying, are you scared to speak in front of all these people? And I just remember feeling like energy around it and a buzz around it. And I was excited to do it, not afraid to do it at all. And then I spoke with them. And then afterwards, people came up and spoke to me and had questions and wanted to have coffee or go for lunch and talk about it more. And I was like, wow, Lynn, listen, Mom was right. This is what you need to do.
Right.
And so that was really a defining moment for me, was my first real public speaking engagement.
So Lynn, talk about what do you think is your greatest weakness, and how do you overcome that?
My greatest weakness. That is a good question. Let me think about that one. I mean, everybody has weaknesses. We all do. There's certainly every leader, every person has at least one or two things that they could do better to be more successful.
What might be your greatest weakness, and how do you overcome that?
Okay, so I think I've talked about starting a new business, and for the first time being an external consultant rather than an internal consultant. As an internal consultant, there was word of mouth, and the programs that I had developed, there were waiting lists for, and the coaching engagements in our coaching practice, we had waiting list for. So I didn't have to go out and sell myself after it was initially sold. I mean, I had to build it. I was the first in the last organization I was in. I was the first to do it. So I had to sell it in that way. But once it was sold, it was word of mouth. I didn't have to go out and find new clients. Now, as a business owner, I do have to go out and find new clients. So the part about that I enjoy is people. I very much enjoy people. And a lot of times the first meeting with a new client, I turn into a mini coaching session. And, you know, for 20 minutes, we're coaching on a particular topic of interest to them, and they gain something. If I'd never talked to them again, we gain something. But what I've learned as a businesswoman that I have to get better at is the follow-up. I have this internal thing that says, I don't want to bother people. If they're interested, they will get back to me. But to remember that this, and I've been that leader who's busy and buried in the weeds and has that nagging thought of, yes, I really need the coaching, but right now I'm going to put this fire out, or I'm going to attend this meeting, or take care of this employee situation or problem. And so to look at the touching base with a potential client as more of less of a bother to them and more of a reminder to them that they would welcome. So that's a mindset change for me, and what I'm working on right now.
So tell us about the ways in which you're doing that.
Okay, so ways in which I'm doing that, I'm finding that it doesn't always have to be an email, or it doesn't always have to be a phone call. It could be, maybe I've written an article that's been published that's right along the lines of where I know that they need coaching personally, or where they're thinking of developing their team, or what their organization is facing in an organizational effectiveness or development. And so I will send them that article, or if it's a video that I find that somebody else has put out, or maybe that we've put out, or I've put out, that I know would be of value to them, I can send that to them. So there are the phone calls, there are the emails. I have a couple where they tell me flat out, text message. I'm like, really? You want me to text you? One yesterday, and it was like, yes, please text me. That's the best way to get me. It won't get lost in the clutter. And when she said that, I knew she was really serious about wanting the coaching that we've been talking about, when she's given me a text number to cut through the clutter. And so she didn't consider me part of the clutter. Lots of different ways.
Yeah, and you do a good job at that. And so let's shift a little bit, but let's stay in the career space a little bit for right now. How do you balance work and life and your family, your friends, your relationships, and work? How does that balance work for you?
Not always very well, but much better recently. In the past, I care so deeply about the programs that I develop and implement, or that I and my teams do, or I care so deeply about the leader that I'm working with, or the team that I'm working with, or whatever is happening within the organization, and being a part of the leadership team to drive an organization forward. So this was in my years in corporate, the corporate world, the global corporate world, that I did allow my family life to suffer. And so whatever time I had left was for my husband, and then for my sisters, my siblings, my nieces, my nephews, who mean so much to me. And then the last person who got any attention was me. I did nothing on self-care. I mean, I went to the gym, so I won't say I did nothing. I did work with a trainer 2 or 3 days a week. However, even that, when I started canceling those things, and then I had a sister who became very ill. And just before she passed away, she asked me, why haven't you been here? Why haven't I seen you? Why? And I knew then and there, this is not the right thing to do. It's not the right thing to do, to give yourself completely away. And that everybody has a balance. Everybody's balance is different, but that was a tipping point for me to say, this is not my balance, and I will not repeat this. I will not do this again. And so, Lori, you know, we work together, and I work very hard, and I'm very dedicated to our company. I'm very dedicated to our clients, very, very much so. I'm also very dedicated to myself and my family life, and in a way that I haven't been before. And so I'm very conscious and very aware to make those, to make that balance. And are there exceptions? Yes. Do I need to work a Sunday, and I will? Yes. Do I want that to become the norm? No. So it had become the norm for me to give up my personal and family time. So I try to make those exceptions while still meeting all of the needs. I find it's not about being busy and working harder. It's about doing the right things at the right time, and that old adage of working smarter. It's really about that.
So what are some of the common myths about the work that you do?
Well, when I say I'm in talent management, those who are totally unaware sometimes think I handle models, and I don't. It's not that kind of talent. No actors, no models, and that. But other than that, that was a humor. You'll find that I love humor. I think sometimes people just don't understand the need for developing leaders. They think this leader is successful. Why do they need development? Why does a successful leader need executive coaching? And I am a maximizer. That's probably my greatest strength. And by that, I mean, I like to take something good and make it great. I like to take something great and make it stellar. I like to make things reach their fullest potential. I like to help that happen. And in working with executive leaders, successful executive leaders, in order for them to stay successful, because this competitive business environment, this very changing business environment, something new and different is needed from leaders today than a month ago, and something different will be needed a month from now than is needed today. So leaders have to be aware of any behaviors that they're exhibiting which might get in the way of their continued success. So to quote Marshall Goldsmith, what got you here won't get you there. And that's often the case. And so that's a big misconception, I think, with executive coaching, is that it's only for leaders who are failing or people who are broken or teams that are just in shambles. And in actuality, coaching and development is for successful leaders and teams and people to help them maintain their success and become even more successful.
Excellent. Excellent. Let's shift. I'm curious, who's your favorite cultural heroine and why?
I don't know I don't know. Cultural heroine.
Yeah, so out there in life, you know, you've experienced life and you've seen a lot of things, you've experienced a lot of things. And is there one person that kind of stands out to you that you've admired, and why? Why is that?
Well, I guess I've mentioned my mom a couple of times. And so if I mean, that's the example that I think of. And the strong woman that she was, you know, my family, I did come from a lot of money, and my mom, my dad got married at 19 and I think 21. So young, just after the World War II, or, you know, just way back then. And she started out sewing blue jeans in a blue jean factory. But my mother was brilliant, and she had 5 children, and they were able to build a home. But my mother was on a quest for lifelong learning and lifelong education. And my mom, while she was raising 5 children and working full-time sewing in a sewing plant, she went back to college. And she got her first bachelor's degree, and she got her second bachelor's degree, and she got her master's degree. And she became a professional woman when there was no such thing. All of my friends' mothers that I grew up with, they were the stay-at-home mom. That was the common thing then, and mine was the working mother. It was the example I always had, was mom getting up and getting dressed and going into the office, because by the time I came along, that was the type of employment that she was in. And going to board meetings. And as a child, I thought, board meeting, why do you need to go somewhere to be bored? I really didn't understand what a board meeting was. So that was actually for a couple of years. I just thought it was a place you went to be bored out of your mind. That was the example. I had the example all my life of the professional woman who was engaged in her community, who was engaged in her church, who was engaged in her family, who was engaged in her work, and who was able to do it all when there were very few examples of that. So I would say my mom.
Nice. And what's your she power?
My she power, I think my she power is just that genuine interest in people. I genuinely have a lot of energy around people. I love appropriate use of humor, and positivity. Positivity is, and I love positivity. I love building trust and being trusting and being trustworthy and assuming positive intent, which allows that positivity. And I like to be a bright light in the room. Now, sometimes that can be confused with being a Pollyanna and not understanding what's really going on. But I do understand. I'm a very savvy woman. I'm relatively smart. I do understand what's going on, but I feel like you can choose two avenues to deal with issues and problems. And you can be the beast in the room, or you can be the bright light in the room, leading towards solutions. And so I choose to be that. So positivity, I think, is the word I would use.
So you work with a lot of students, and I want to ask you this question in relation to that. So how would you recommend to a young person who's thinking about this line of career and industry that we work in, that you work in, what would you recommend to these young people who are interested?
Well, interestingly enough, I mentioned the mentoring I do through the Cameron Executive Network as an executive mentor at UNCW. And I've so far mentored 3 students. All 3 have graduated, one just graduated, and all 3 of them were HR majors and very unsure of what they wanted to do with that, just knowing they wanted to do something with that. And one of them is now in a career which I helped guide her toward. When she was considering offers, she'd call me up, Lynn, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? But she's in a career now, not in the HR field, but in a data analytics field, because she got this wonderful job offer, and I helped her see the career path that could lead her to in HR, because HR is becoming, and talent management, so much more data driven, and being able to be predictive with your data. So understanding data analytics is a strong skill set for her to have as she pursues that HR career. I also encouraged her to engage with HR in this large global company that she's with, and to volunteer for projects within HR. And now she has done that, and she has built great bonds within HR. So she has a natural career path to go into HR and use the data analytics. So I'd say it's not always a horizontal straight path to get somewhere. Mine certainly wasn't. I did a sideways path into this field. It doesn't have to be. I also encourage my other 2 students. One of them graduated a year ago, and she's in a recruiting field within HR, and she's loving it. The other has explored the recruiting field. She's also worked in onboarding. She's looking at a position as an HR assistant, which would give her a broad view. And I'm encouraging her to get that very broad view of all of the components that go on within the HR and talent management. She really thinks she wants to be within the organizational effectiveness, organizational development, talent management part of HR. But I've encouraged her to have a broad view. And so that's what she's doing.
All right. And what advice would you give your younger self?
My younger self, the advice I would give my younger self would be to don't get a mindset and set your mind for what you want to do as a career to a point that you can't hear any other options, because I really thought I wanted to be in the science field. When I grew up, on Tuesday nights, Marcus Welby, MD, came on television, and it didn't come on until 10 o'clock, and that was past my bedtime. But I had special permission on Tuesday nights to stay up and watch Marcus Welby, MD. I think thus began my fascination with the medical field. But I had very narrow all through school. I was going to be in the sciences. I went to college. I studied the sciences. And the 1 or 2 courses that I took that were outside of science, when I studied, a single HR course, or I took similar courses, just as, what do you call them when they're not required? I can't think of the word.
Extracurricular, or yeah.
Anyway, when I took those few courses that I would take that were not part of my mandated curriculum, I enjoyed them so much, and I had that spark of joy around them. But I would diminish it because no, I'm going to study the sciences, and the sciences, frankly, it was much harder for me to study and to enjoy and go, I like the laboratory part, the application, but it took a lot of study for me. Whereas the psychology classes and the whatever else that I took, those didn't. I mean, they were natural and they were easy, and I was excited about them. I was excited for the project, but I didn't allow my younger self to be open to explore anything other than what I had my mindset on since my early teenage years. So I'd say remain open to your career path, and that doesn't mean don't have a plan or don't be thoughtful, but don't be so stuck in the mindset that you put blinders on.
And what message would you want to share with the women around the globe and the masses that are out there today?
The world is your oyster.
It is.
Really. I have just worked with so many successful leaders, period, male, female, all demographics, so many successful leaders. And women have something to add. It's a voice to add that may not be found. And I don't want to say can't be found, because there are men certainly who exhibit, but I find that women lead often in a different way. And it may be a way that is very, very needed now, and very, very needed in whatever the workplace is going to look like in the future. And I would say, to quote Becky Shambaugh, who wrote a book that I use a lot, it's not a glass ceiling, it's a sticky floor. So don't use the excuse of the glass ceiling. Yes, it has existed, in the past, it still does, but the floor is also sticky. So by that, it's like, how are you holding yourself back? How are you holding yourself down? For example, in leaders that I've worked with, when jobs post, and maybe it's a COO role, and I'll be working with male leaders and female leaders, and the male leaders are quick to apply to the job. I'm stereotyping, and I don't mean to be doing that, but they're quick to apply. And of the 6, skills listed as mandatory, they have 3 of them. And it's like, why wouldn't you hire me and put me in this position or promote me to this position? I'm well qualified. And on the other hand, the women that I've worked with, the same position, this has actually happened. It's like, gosh, I only have 5 of the 6. I'm missing one. I'm not qualified. And I'd say to women, stop it. If the go for your career goes, go for it. What's the worst that can happen? You are qualified. And yeah, so go for it. Don't let it be a sticky floor.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, Lynn, I just want to say personally, you're remarkable, and I am excited to have you on our very first interview. And to our audience with She Has Something to Say, get in touch with Lynn and connect with her, communicate with her, engage with her, dialogue with her. Your life will be better because of that. I promise you. She is a phenomenal servant, and she is probably representative of a minority when it comes to people who are truly authentic and giving and service above self. She truly is remarkable, and I'm honored and blessed because she is my business partner. So there is a little bit of a bias there, but girl, I love you. I think that you are remarkable, and I am so tickled and so honored that you are our first interview for She. And thank you very much with all my heart, girl. You know that. And again, this is just a fantastic opportunity. Lynn, how can they reach out to you?
You can reach out to me through my email at lynn.whitesell@harriswhitesellconsulting.com. You can reach out. Our company number, 833-848-7845. You can also reach out through our website, www.harriswhitesellconsulting.com, and our contact me page. You can text me at 910-398-2953. However you reach out, I ask you, please do reach out. I would love to hear from you. I would love to speak with you. I'd love to offer you that 20 minutes of free mini coaching.
And Lynn, are you on LinkedIn?
I am. You can find me under Lynn Whitesell on LinkedIn, and also YouTube. Harris Whitesell Consulting has a YouTube page and a Twitter page, so you can find us on Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, email. text.
HubSpot.
Um,
And then also, where can they find your articles?
So you can find my articles on our website, harriswhitesellconsulting.com. Go to blogs and you will see articles I do write for the Greater Wilmington Business Journal and have multiple articles posted there. Also have some videos posted on our YouTube site. So you can go to the Swain Center, UNCW Swain Center for Executive Education, and go to the Excellence in Leadership series and find videos there as well.
Wonderful. Well, again, thank you, Lynn. I appreciate your time and energy today, and have a blessed day.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you for allowing me to be the first she person.
Interviewee. Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.